Hello Tubesters, take two. I'll have no tea left at this rate. Right, today I haven't done a ramble in a long time, and as the title will hopefully suggest, this is a ramble mostly on Scale Model World Telford 2021. Is it? I believe so. The years just drift by, especially the last couple. It's been announced Telford is to go ahead. There'll be no tickets on the door. You'll have to pay up front, get them sent to you or print them off. I don't know how that's going to work, but there's no prices yet. I'd imagine it might be a bit more expensive, and I'm not complaining at that. Got to keep overheads met and all that stuff. And it will be held over the 13th and 14th, as usual, I believe, of November. So Sunday being Remembrance Sunday. And it was just really a ramble over. I've been saying to myself for the last year, after obviously Telford didn't go ahead, I wouldn't have gone last year, obviously, even if it had been on. And I only live about 40. I don't even think 50 minutes, probably 40 minutes drive away. I've been to Telford twice so far, 2018, 2019, roughly coincided with me getting back into scale modelling. And it was fantastic to find the premier modelling expo in the UK is more or less on my doorstep. And I said to myself, I wouldn't go this year. Now, I always bring it up because there are obviously people constantly find my videos and they don't know anything about me, not like the guys that have been with me for a long time. And thank you very much, as always, for your support. I've got serious mental health problems, and I've always used my figure painting, whether that's painting war games figures, and over the last few years into more display sizes, if you want to say, like I paint busts, I paint some of the larger scale figures. Mainly 54mm and 32mm figures. I've always used it since I was a kid to I didn't know I was using it really then as I won't say escapism or anything like that, but just try and help head problems. My head exploded a few years ago. I got serious PTSD and trauma and bits and pieces, but I really find my figure painting and my scale modelling, now I've got back into it, really, and all the kind of support I've had off people on YouTube, it's really kept me basically putting one foot in front of the other. As I've said to you before, I very occasionally I can get into some really bad places and you don't know if you're going to be here the next day. And I'm not trying to big that up or get the little violin out. That's just how it is. I live day to day like that, and I use my time at my bench, and I'm at my bench all the time. My wife's really forgiving. She knows it's the only thing that keeps me, well, her as well. And obviously I had two pups and I lost one a few years ago. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is it keeps me in the fight. And I've met some really good people through it as well. None of us have done. Only a few of us have met. I've managed to meet a couple of YouTubers so far, and who've literally come to my house. And but it's just, I love the world in miniature. I always have done. Military miniature mainly. I do like the Tamiya sports bikes. I've yet to build mine, but I really like seeing those. But I'm a military enthusiast. I always have been. I did a few years in the army. I just love military topics, and sea, air, and land. It doesn't bother me. I just love them all. And I said to myself, as I'm sitting painting on the commission figures, I'm a commission figure painter, by the way, if you didn't know. And I was saying to myself, how much does going to something like Scale Model World mean to me, or any other event like that? And I've never been to the Figure Expo down in Dover because we've got well, we've got one pop now, and we don't leave them, so really there's no chance of going to things anymore. It's a sacrifice you have for having dogs. Anyway, but I can get to Scale Model World. It's not far away. The problem I have is I have severe PTSD. It's not from my military service, but I can still get really spooked by a lot of noise, lots of people. Exactly why go to Scale Model World at Telford, because you're wearing people's. I mean, I'm 6 foot plus, and backpacks tend to be down here a lot of the time on me. But I still get them. Your backpacks and all the things that go on at Scale Model World with the crush. But I don't get out, I take my pops out. Now, all last year we were more virtually locked down. The place I go is we call it a common in the UK, so Heathland, it's a country park more or less. And it's 5 miles away, so the government weren't letting any of us go that far. So I hardly got out at all. I said to old Tom, who I'm in contact with, that's Mr. Rambler 69, I showed him a picture of the garden. I says, the prison exercise yard. Because, I'm in a prison in here all the time, so it isn't really that fazed me that much. But I don't go anywhere, really. I think 2020 I went out about 5 times the entire year, apart from a few times when they started letting us take our pops out. Problem was then you get 10,000 other people all doing the same thing, and that tends to knock me back a bit as well. I told you this is a ramble. But I was sitting there and saying to myself, what does going out to places, doing that type of stuff, it has to be something I can try and put it into words. When I'm looking at some club stands table, and it's some club, it might be a SIG, and that's a special interest group, I believe, to guys that don't do modelling. So they might be on the Tornado, it might be on the Sherman tank. It could be whatever that particular group of people have an interest in, or you can as well. You just join it and you put all your models on the table. But others are just clubs where there's a whole range. It can be a Tamiya motorbike one end, it can be a 1 in 72 Spitfire the other end. It just depends what that club's has brought along. Sometimes it does. It's just like going to war game shows back when I used to go to war game shows years ago. It's surprisingly, some people are really communicative, and other people, I don't know what the hell they ever go there for, because they don't want to engage with you, and you're thinking, well, why are you sat behind that table? Anyway, but I enjoy asking questions about, how somebody done that, or just complimenting them. That's what they're there to talk about what they've produced when they want to talk about it. And I find that my brain zones out from everything else, all the noise, the hubbub, and everything that's going around at that model show. I can actually just tune in to just that particular model I'm looking at, and everything just filters out in the background. It's fantastic. I remember going, I think Mick, a fellow YouTuber, I mean Mick's not making videos anymore, but he went with me last year in 2019, and I think once we got through the naval section in the foyer, which took ages because I love my ships, and I think one of the first tables, I think it was a Canberra SIG group had got, and at the end of it there was a French model club, and some of the I think they had some little trainers and that on there, and that's not little shoes, that's like the little training aircraft. Sorry, yeah, they got some little aircraft on there, little training aircraft, because I often quite like the training aircraft because of the colour schemes and that on them. You might be seeing one of them shortly, and I just really can straight away just zone into what I'm looking at, and occasionally you might be asking questions. Of course, I like the Starfighter. I remember there were some British guys over from Italy there must have been a British club in Italy, I'm not too sure, because there was other Italian clubs there as well. And they got a fair few Italian starfighters, obviously. It almost became the home of the starfighter towards the end. And of course I was complimenting on those and just looking and taking photographs. You'll see on the old 2019 video I've got on Telford, a fair few of them on there. And as long as I usually take a break and go and just stand out in a corner or somewhere for a bit and just calm down slightly, have a drink or something like that. You know, I can handle it. Right, guys. Sorry for that. Post has arrived, and Archie, my pop, he's 10, but we always call him my pop. He decided to collect. He always collects the post off Mr. Postman because he gets a treat for it. And I was wondering about that training aircraft. Well, it's come about 5 days early. I'm not 100% sure I've agreed with the packaging. They've obviously flattened the packaging, shoved it in a cardboard box. Am I happy about that? Not really, but the box was sturdy that it was in. But anyway, sorry. That's just turned up, which is the Sire Marchetti SF260EA-D-EU, late bulge canopy type. It's a training aircraft from Italy, but served. The Belgians still use it a lot. The Italians still use it a lot. And it says here, what else we got? Venezuela and somebody else. But yeah, little tiny training aircraft, short run kit. So anyway, where were we? We were supposed to be talking about Scale Model World takes a slurp of tea. Needed that. Yeah, I find it's a real pickup. I think a lot of us do. You don't have to have mental health problems. I think you go away from Telford or any decent model show enthused, which you should be really, shouldn't you? You see different kits that are built, and you think, "Blooming heck, I'd love to do that." Now I started enjoying these little training aircraft. Never built one yet, but I love all the colours on them. You know what I mean? I like a lot of them have the day glow orange, often fades, but yeah, there's just different countries, different, and they don't take a lot of room up in my cabinet. They're only little fellas, and you can be used as light strike aircraft as well. Now that one came about. Well, no, we'll go to that bit in the ramble in a bit. So I was painting away 18mm Napoleonics, and I said to myself, well, I was determined to go there myself this year. My wife had held my hand in 2018. Mick had held my hand, not that type of holding my hand, but he was with me for 2019. Both of them weren't, Mick likes his models, but not overly. He doesn't particularly build many. The wife, no interest whatsoever, but she was kind enough to not only do all the driving there and back, but walk round with that look of complete detachment on her face that most of the wives that walk around that Telford do. And I thought, no, I'm going to do it myself this year and just take my time, and because you do end up rushing. If me and the wife go out, the pop has to be left behind. 3 hours later, we've got to get back. So I was conscious the last time Mick was with me, I didn't want to obviously, make him push him to his limits type of thing. So I thought, no, I'm going to go myself, and just wander around. I can't do. A lot of people go for the traders. I would say our traders are cheaper at Telford. I really don't know, but I wouldn't have thought so. They've got to meet their overheads and that. So I don't go for kits, strangely enough. And it's such a frenzy around the different suppliers. This head won't do it. I used to look at them and I just see people, not in fist fights, but trying to get to kits, and obviously the traders don't have a lot of room. And I just, I couldn't be doing it. But what I do go for is the books. The books do tend to be cheaper. you can get some good buys. I've come away with books that it would take me ages to ever build an aeroplane of. I've got, I think the last time I came away with the F-18 Hornet and the Wild Weasel from Sam Publications. I came away with the Jaguar from a Jaguar Fight from Sam Publications, and a couple of other books. The year before I did the same, and I thought to myself, well, Gav, it is going to be a coronavirus stewing pot. No way can anybody tell me any different that isn't going to be a place where coronavirus is going to be, and any other model show. I mean, I've seen pictures since people have had different ones online, come up online, and there's nobody behind in the model clubs are wearing masks. Very few people. There are a few people, but not many that I've seen. And you think when people are talking to them, down to them, literally breathing on them. And I get it. People say you've got to be brave. You've got to live your life. Don't let it cow you. Well, that's fine until you're lying on your guts with a tube shoved down your throat and one up your nose, whether you've been double jammed or not. I'm not getting into the vaccines and anti-vaccines. I personally have had both. But I don't want long COVID, and I don't want to be particularly really ill with it. So that was the reason, do I or do I not go? And also, this could all be academic because there's going to be an avalanche of people wanting tickets, and I probably won't get a ticket, but do I want to go to a place where it's got to be a way over 50% chance I'm going to get, if somebody who hasn't had COVID that he knows of is going to get it. And after long deliberation, I decided I was going to throw the dice and try and get a ticket. Reason being, is next year going to be any really different COVID? I mean, COVID's going to be with us forever now. And it could get a lot worse. It's only got to mutate into something ridiculously real plague-like, and we're in it up to our necks. But is circumstances going to be changed next year? Because I've heard some people say, well, I'm not going to go this year, but I'll go next year. And I'm thinking, and I thought to myself, well, I can't see next year being any different to this year. COVID's still going to be here. So, although I don't agree with the rah 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 attitude of people, and that's from my personal opinion, I also think is when do you start doing the things that, I mean, if the country was shut down but for some reason model show was open, I wouldn't go, because I think, what is it? It's not up to me. I don't have the right to infect other people potentially that I would come across in life. But it's not. The country's been completely wide open, and I presume, unless they're going to lock us down, and I can't see them doing it. But some people in the UK say, there will be a lockdown. I can't see it because, I don't think there's the will to do it amongst the people. I personally would, but there isn't the will to do it amongst the people, and we're on our chin strap financially. So, so Gav's going to go. It's taking me that long to say Gav's going to go to Telford. I know. It's a ramble. It's what Gav does. So I'm going to go, provided I don't get a ticket. It will be good. I mean, I'm not going to go around. I will be wearing a mask. Probably one of the few that will be. But I will be wearing a mask. But I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to be terrified of, like, oh my life, I'm going to get COVID or whatever. But I am completely respectful that in a hothouse environment like that, it's going to be a breeding ground for COVID, no matter what people tell me. So, but my brain needs a pickup, I think. It's not going to be any different next year, I can't see, COVID-wise. what do you do? You know, I go out 2 or 3 times a year. I'd planned to actually go to Cosford in 2020. Obviously, plague came along and it never happened. But yeah, I'd planned to go to Cosford because that's only 40-50 minutes up the road from me. And I used to throw the pops. I used to go about 3 or 4 times a year just to walk around, just enjoy looking at the aircraft. It's an RAF. It's RAF Cosford. There's an RAF base there if you don't know, but there's also an extremely large museum there as well. So, but yeah, I had planned to go to Cosford and that didn't happen, obviously, for the last couple of years. So, if any of you didn't know, Telford, you do now. Telford's on. As I say, as far as I know, they have given a date when tickets will be on sale, sometime in September, and I can't remember when. I believe it's the 13th or 14th of November. Again, just go on IPMS, Scale Model World 2021, and on the internet it'll come up. So yeah. Now, still keeping it in the model realms. As you can see, I go back to our Scié Maquette. There we go. 1 in 72 scale. We'll have a, I'll say an unboxing, but I think it's already happened. I can feel something loose in there. Anyway, yeah, I've done a bit of buying this week. Some intentional, some unintentional. I thought that was actually going to be something else, especially when I saw the box size. Bought the Scié Maquette. That was quite late in posting, so I wasn't expecting that for a while, but it's obviously turned up before the others. I've got some 1 in 35 scale German tank crew figures, which I wasn't intending to buy. What happened was, I was going through, and I always do, I go on eBay. I think eBay's easier. I just put in the filters of what I want, and rather than going from model shop to model shop website, you know, I just look at what's out there. And I came across a German SP self-propelled gun crew that was on for. I know I never bid on much because I never win. You know what people like? They hover at the end, and you always get pipped, and it just gets. You know, you just think, oh, why did I bother? Because I never win anything. It's not to say I won't buy used kits or used figures or whatever they are, as in buy it now, but I very rarely put bids on. But I put a bid on this. It was low. I put a bid on quite early, 3 or 4 days before it finished. And again, somebody pipped me 50p at the end. And as I got pipped, I was just looking at something else, and these other figures came up, and I thought they were a really good buy. And this is what I'm about to say is, do your research. Hold off from pressing the buy it now button. Just save it. Go and have a look. Because it's happened to me twice now. I saw these figures, and I believe they were a tenner. It said special edition. Mini art figures, I believe they are. We'll have a look at them when they come through the post. And I thought, that's pretty cheap. They're normally about 14 quid or you know, something like that. And I did the buy it now. I don't need any at the moment. But I went and bought them. And it has suggested stuff underneath, doesn't it? And there was a load of other stuff for like the same figures for like. I didn't buy them any more expensive, but I didn't buy them any cheaper. So I went and bought a box of 1 in 35 scale German tank crew when I didn't really need to. I didn't even have a German tank to put them in. They'll be there. It's like my French World War I tank crew. I can't use them because the FT-17 I'm building is an American tank. It don't matter. They're there. And I've got some Israeli tank crew as well. I have actually got an Israeli Super Sherman my Mara Greg sent me, but it's the wrong era. And that's actually going to be converted to a Chilean one at some stage. Anyway, so that's the first buy that, again, Gav had no intention of pressing the button, got caught up in looking at the price, bought something that really wasn't any cheaper than anywhere else. That's the first one. Second one, which I'm kicking myself even more for. I love my ships. Now this is an old ship that I've shown you before. I bought this one used, and it's a Type 23 Royal Navy frigate, right? Now we've sold about 3 of these off second hand to the Chilean Navy, I believe, over the last few years. But that's HMS Kent. In one of her earlier guys is looking at the gun turret there, and I love that particular. That's my favourite post-war Royal Navy warship, type of warship, Type 23 frigate. It's just before we've got all the more sleeked out, radar proof as they can be ships. I like the cluttered look, especially modelling wise. There's a lot to see, This, by the way, this is going to be made. He looks on his desk. The F-17 tank is ready for painting. I'm just waiting for some paints to arrive. Snow speeder. I have to get that canopy mast, and she's ready for painting. So those 2 projects are almost on the end, completed. Once I've got the primer down, because I'm going to do a black paint primer on, up from black on the FT17. Once I've got that done, I'll probably give you a show, because I'm hoping the primer will hold a lot of the glue bomb that it is. We'll have a look at that on a separate video. Anyway, going back to the ship, so that's a 1 in 350 scale. You tend to find the more modern frigates in that they are cheaper than the World War II stuff because they are smaller. There's not so much to them, so they don't charge you as much. Now, I can't afford the big, I probably could afford the old Tamiya, Bismarck and Tirpitz. I did always want to make the Tirpitz over the Bismarck. She didn't see as much action, although she tied up huge British assets over the years. But she doesn't get shown as much as the Bismarck, and I've got a couple of books on Tirpitz. And I did fancy doing that, and I could probably afford one of the older ones. It's just to make them up, to make any of these ships up. You don't have to do all the railings and all that, but I like to see that on a ship. If they're there, I like to see it done. Now I can't afford these Pontos 150 quid. There's no way could I justify spending 150 quid on, because don't have the income. 150 quid on one of them things to stick on a ship that's cost you 40 quid, say, or an 80 quid ship if you're going to buy one of the newer battleships and stuff, and the aircraft carriers are like 120, 30, 40 quid. So I find I'm quite happy with the modern ones. The modern ones are slightly cheaper. You can get them for around 30 to £40, maybe a bit more. And anyway, I'd seen Takom, Takom's, if you're interested, Takom's brought out a set. As you know, if you don't know, Takom's now making Zeppelins, of all things. It's actually, I can't remember the scale, but large Zeppelins. But they've also obviously shrunk one down and put it in a 3 in a pack. So you get 2 World War I German battle cruisers, I can't remember which ones they are now. And you get this Zeppelin that's obviously one of the smaller Zeppelins being used for reconnaissance at the time, if you're interested. But I was looking at a 1 in 350 scale Ramble class or Schützen class German. I don't know if it's a frigate or a destroyer, to be honest. I think it's a destroyer, and it's one of the more, again, sleeked, like our type. Is it Type 45s we do now, with all the everything's hidden behind bulkheads and whatever. You don't see a lot on them. Just try and stop the radar clutter. And that was about 35 quid, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask my missus for that for Christmas, I think. I'd like that. So I dropped a massive hint out last night. Anyway, I thought, we're not looking, but I'd just like to see what ships I'd really wanted to build. They've got the Royal Navy had monitors in both First World, Second World War. Shallow draft ships, usually with a turret of, not always, but a turret of like a 15-inch gun turret from an old battleship on the front, and a few 4.5-inch AA guns and self-defense guns and a few Orlikans and that. And they did a decent service bombarding at Salerno, Anzio, the Torch landings, bombarding, obviously D-Day, the Antwerp, the Scheldt in the Scheldt estuary and stuff like that in the late, was it 45, whatever. And there's one big problem with that one that I was, because I could afford that, it was about 45 quid, and I thought I'd really like that, because it doesn't take up a lot of room, but there's a fair bit going on with it. But they've put the torpedo bulges right up to almost to the anchor chains, and it never went that far forward. So you'd have to cut it and then blank off, and I'm just thinking, am I good enough for that? Anyway, I was thinking all that, and on the sidebar it says heavy cruiser Polar, Italian heavy cruiser Polar. There was Zara, Fume, the G1 I can't pronounce, and Polar. And there were heavy cruisers, and Polar and Zara, I believe, were scuttled at the Battle of Cape Matapan, when they'd lost all propulsion and whatever, and the captains decided to save the crews by scuttling the ships rather than trying to fight a dead ship, dead in the water type of thing. And I saw this, and it was on that thing called Wish, and my missus has always said, that you can get some good buys off them, they go around finding cheap prices and that, things that you wouldn't think you could get them so cheap. And it just happened, and I thought, I remembered that, a few things I can remember. And it was Polar, 16 quid. I'm thinking, and it's a normal price, £46. Forgive me. Now we all know that people will put, yes, it's obviously a proper price, but and for some reason it was in my head, because I'd seen somebody do the Polar, or at least on Boxer or the Zara, one of those class of ships. They look slightly different. And by the look of it, Trumpeter's left a few bits out that make them look even more different from the original ships. But you guessed it, Gav, again, jumps at the price, 16 quid. I've got myself a 1 in 350 scale warship. Yes, I'm going to have to get some, and I'd already pre-looked at it. I stopped, but I did stop it, and I went off and I looked at it, and I thought, well, I can get cheap railings. So I'd read somebody saying, not only get the 350 railings, but if you get the 1 in 700 railings, you can use them for going around ship's boats, you can go around the funnel, just smaller railings that they had. And I also saw I could get a complete set of brass gun barrels, that's the main armament and the secondary armament, for £8. I'm not going to bother with the wooden decking. And I thought, well, I could throw a bid at that. I knew there was some bits wrong with it. And I thought, for 16 quid, bloody hell, that's an absolute, I've got to get that, that's just, why not? You wouldn't, anyway, puts it in, and it says, yep, we'll send it off to, I've never bought from them before, didn't tell you who the buyer was, or where it was, when it was coming from, but 16 quid, we'll let you know when it's on its way. And then all of a sudden, I thought, well, I'll just check if there's any other bits and pieces they do for that lot of Italian cruisers, and they were all for like £16 and £17. There was a few. It's probably slightly cheaper, but not by a lot. And we're talking a couple of pounds. And the worst of it was, they said it's I think it was 1998. It was originally made. As of the Zara, there is slight differences where the funnels are and stuff like that. And I went, oh bloody hell. There's going to have to be a bit of scratch building done to it. But I thought, well, Gav, you moan that you can't afford 1 in 350 scale older ships, and you've got one now. So when it comes, so I'm gonna throw a bit of work at that one. I don't mean a lot of money. Well, there is going to be. I'm going to have to buy some railings. I cannot see these ships. On one of these, I have to see the railings on the ships. Railings. Do you have to have brass gun barrels? Of course you don't. I haven't got the kit in front of me yet, so I don't know what the barrels are going to look like. But 8 quid. I'm very much like, if I can't, if I've got to get rid of the ship at some stage because I don't have the room, I'm hard-hearted. I'll just take the gun barrels out and save them for a rainy day. So for that type of thing, I don't have a problem. Hell, I'd even try and save the railings too. But yeah, so I've got the Trumpeter 1 in 350 scale Italian heavy cruiser from World War II Polar coming. But yeah, there was things I'd noticed on that didn't, from what I've seen, aren't replicated on the real ship. Like it's got round support tube beams going up to different fighting tops and that, and they don't seem to be shown at all. I don't know, I haven't got the kit, but I would imagine looking at people's built kits, and I haven't seen them on there, so we're not having that. Not something that's showable. You can't, I like to see the right thing. I'm not a complete rivet counter, but I do like to see something replicated as best as you can. So yeah, that's going to be a project and a half, that one. But I'm really looking forward to it. But before we do that, we're going to get the HMS Kent done. I've been wanting to do that for ages. I'm digressing yet again, aren't I? The reason I haven't done that, I showed this a while ago, and I did a usual gav, because I've got the photo etch for this. This was a cheaper photo etch for this from Atlantic Models. Go check him out. But there was one major reason I didn't build her, and that is, if you can see there, if you look at the hull, where the F80, is it F78 or F87? I can never remember. F78. Where you see the pennant number for the frigate there, you'll see a ripple effect on the hull. Well, that's called canning. Well, I've always known it's canning. And it's the same on metal skinned aircraft. You can get this ripple effect. It doesn't take long for where they're attached to the hull and then the pounding of the waves and all that, and you get this like waffle effect along the side. They've all got it. If you look at photographs, and not just this type of, you could be American, German, Japanese, Chinese, it doesn't matter. The majority of ships have got that canning effect on them. And of course this doesn't show it. I've seen some people use a chisel and very slightly, but you have to mark the whole hull and very slightly scallop some out. I've seen some people use the paint effect. Well, I was going to black paint that anyway, because I often think there's not enough tonal variation in the ships I see. So I was going to paint this all black and then black base it, and then as we would do a tank, and build it up from there, or an aircraft. And that put me off because, it was still 40 quid, I think, at the time. You can get these damn sight cheaper now, of course. You can get them for about £30 odd. Maybe if I hadn't just bought a Italian World War II heavy cruiser for £16, I might well have bought another one. Never mind. But I will be getting more. I love that ship. I love that type of ship. So yeah, I'm going to be building that. I'll also I'm not sure if I'll build. I've got enough on me go without building another model at the same time. I've still got the Starfighter. I'm on a bit of a head wall with that at the moment. It will get built, and there is lots of bits that have been built. I just haven't shown you. I'd say the Snow Speeder is built. It's just waiting to be. I'm just doing a base coat over it, and then I'm putting all the stickers on, and then stickers. It does have stickers as well, but decals, and then we'll do the weathering on it. And she will be painted hopefully this weekend, along with the base coat on the FT17. So once the FT17 is at the weathering stage, and there might be reasons why I can't go ahead any more with it, I will start work on Kent, the Duke of Kent. They're always just called, I don't know why, they're actually the Duke class. It's the Duke of Kent, it's not HMS Kent. It's the same, Monmouth, Marlborough, they just call them that HMS. It's actually Duke of, like I said before, not the Duke of Earl. So doing that, but I've also got another 1 in 35 scale tank out the stash I'll be building. Finally, a tank that was sent to me by my Mara Victor over in the States. He sent me a Sherman tank, and I've been waiting I was going to do it as like a winter build, because it was a wintry type feel to it. But I thought, no, I'd like to have a go. I was enjoying Greg Riley's recent Sherman build, and talking to my marrow, Greg, get well soon, Greg. You're a bit under the weather, and he's sending me some tracks. He can't do it at the moment, but he's sending me some tracks down for that. Some just push together tracks, and also a rubber one, because he's got a Super Sherman he sent me down, and I'm going to put in the rubber ones on instead of the rubber ones. You'll see them when they come. But yeah, so Victor, your Sherman's getting built as well. But I'll probably be going onto the Duke of Kent first, and we'll take it from there. So guys, what a ramble and a half. Hopefully it's been some accompaniment to you as you've been working away at your models, your figure painting. I would imagine when I look at the analyticals, the skip button's been pressed more than once. But hey, I just felt like talking to the camera today, so here you go. So up and coming videos, we'll have a look. I'm going to look now at my slightly condensed model kit there, and hopefully she's all intact. But we will be having a look, hopefully tomorrow or the next day, depending when I've got time over the weekend. We'll be having a look at this special hobby 1 in 72 scale kit. FT17 should be primed, black base. She'll be painted either that black base on Friday, between Friday and Sunday. I'm still waiting for the paints to come from E-Models, and that I ordered them recently, so but I've got some paints coming from E-Models for that to do the rest of it. But we'll have a video of that when she's all blacked up. The LVT will finally be getting her coat. All she's been waiting for is a blooming coat of matte varnish, but I have to get all my compressor out and everything out of this box, and I won't do that till I'm ready to spray something else. It's taken me that long, so forgive me on that. But the LVT is all painted up. She's sat there now. She's been weathered, all that stuff, just waiting for a matte coat on, particularly because she's a gaming piece, not a display piece. So she's got more varnish on her than something with a lot of varnish on. What else we got? I'm painting quite quickly the Napoleonic Commission. I don't really see the sense in showing you those again, because you're just going to be looking at lots of the same figures on bottle tops. So you'll probably get to see that when I've based them. Mez from Mez's Minis, I'm painting a commission for him at the same time. I don't normally paint two commissions at the same time, but this one is just being painted as a breakout from the Napoleonics, Hop and a Catch. But I've almost completed those 4. I've just got to do the pike and just a bit of a clean up, really. So you should get a video for those, probably more likely going to be Monday and Tuesday. Tommy's war figure. Yeah, Gav's never idle. What did I say about staying at my bench all the time? It's when you don't go out, you see. Tommy's war figure. It's not really a... He's getting well and truly painted. That's his overalls, coveralls as we used to call them in the army. So yeah, we've got lots to show, guys. Thank you for listening to this ramble. As I say, going to places like Scale Model World when you don't go anywhere, and to interact with the people that obviously build models, paint figures and that, always gives me a recharge in my batteries, you know. So hopefully I'll get a ticket. If you're going there, hopefully we'll say hello to each other. Right, guys, thanks for stopping by and taking a look. When I do get the figures in, we'll have a show and tell of those unboxings of the mini art figures. When I get the Polar from wherever it's coming from, we'll have a look at that one as well. As I say, it turns out it's a 20-odd-year-old kit. Oh well, it'll be a good project. I'm looking forward to it. As yeah, you'll see it when it gets here. I think it'll be a nice little project. You know, providing I can get something done. Oh, by the way, this reason I was looking at ships and ended up buying the Polar and oh yeah, I was looking at the German ship and that. I don't suppose anybody knows. Does anybody do decals for warning signs and that for these modern ships? Because a modern Royal Navy ship is plastered with like little yellow signs. I don't think they do, because I've looked. Atlantic Models don't do them. They do decals for this, but it's only the names of the different ships, because these more or less look the same. And they just give you the option. Obviously, you can put the pennant number of the ship you want, which I want to do HMS Marlborough, because I did at some stage, because I did actually go on HMS Marlborough when she was guard ship in the Falkland Islands, just for as I think I said you guys for about 12 hours or something like that, as we were on exercise. But they do different yellow warning signs. They do. I think she already comes with a helicopter deck, landing signs and stuff. But there's things like you can't see, but around the base of the gun, I think it's where the gun trains. There's a safety. Do not go past this when this gun is moving. You will have your head knocked off. That type of thing. If anybody does know of anybody that does those, I'd be grateful, because the only other option I've got, I mean, on here I've just looked here, and they do actually show a couple like yellow little squares that they've obviously the artist has painted on just to break up things. I don't really want to paint little squares on there, because they'll never be square. And people have often said you need to use Photoshop for this, and I thought, oh, but that costs money, and it does. So I can't, and I ain't got the skills to do stuff like that. So I'm thinking of. I have got one of those draw things on the computer, on the laptop. Obviously I've got no, and I'm just wondering if I could make some little squares. I don't know how I'd do the dotted line in different colours, but do that, and then get some decal paper, and maybe maybe do it that way. I'd like to do that, because it will put a bit more life into the ship, if that makes sense. Because it's on there, and it would be a shame, I think at that scale, obviously you wouldn't be able to read anything. It just has to be roughly look what the real thing does, in colour-wise, really, more than anything. But yeah, so if anybody knows does anybody make any Royal Navy warning decals, for the different apparatus on the ship, I'd be grateful. Guys, thanks for indulging me. It's been a bit different today. I haven't done a ramble for ages, but I just felt like saying, should I go to Telford? Yes, I should. This is why I'm going, and hopefully I'll get a ticket. Look after yourselves, guys.